Imagine this. You're 35,000 feet in the air, seatbelt on, tray table up, headphones in. You think you're safe. You think you know what's going on. But the truth is, airplanes are packed with secret features designed to keep you alive in an emergency, and most passengers have absolutely no idea they exist. We're not just talking life vests and oxygen masks. I'm talking about hidden escape ropes, chemical oxygen bombs, unmarked handles, and design features so subtle they could blend in as cup holders, but in the worst-case scenario, they're the difference between survival and disaster. In this video, I'll show you the 20 life-saving airplane features that the safety car doesn't mention. Things most flight attendants know, but never say out loud. This isn't about fear, it's about awareness. So, next time you fly, you'll notice the details and maybe even save a life. By the end of this video, you'll never look at your seatbelt, tray table, or even the overhead bin the same way again. Let's start with the feature no one ever wants to think about, but could save you in a crash landing. Most passengers assume that if a plane crash lands, you just run for the exits. Simple, right? Wrong. In a real emergency, smoke, water, wreckage the cabin becomes disorienting fast. That's why many commercial aircraft have removable floor panels near exit rows. They look like solid flooring, but they're actually pressure-released hatches designed to reveal alternative escape paths if the cabin collapses or the exit doors jam. Some are marked subtly, a tiny triangle on the wall or a slightly raised floor strip. Flight attendants know what they are. Passengers don't. Why it matters. In some older aircraft, these panels lead to crawl spaces or structural openings between cabin and cargo area paths designed not for comfort, but survival. If you're ever told go low, go under during an evacuation, this might be where you're headed. Think it's extreme? A 2005 emergency landing in Toronto involved passengers exiting through the cargo floor after the fuselage buckled. Lives were saved because the flight crew knew the hidden structure and used it. You know the drill. In case of fire, don't panic. But where's the fire extinguisher? Believe it or not, commercial aircraft carry multiple extinguishers, often tucked inside storage cabinets, crew compartments, and galley walls. And they're not just foam sprayers, some aircraft are equipped with halon extinguishers, which are much more effective for electrical and fuel-related fires. Most passengers never notice them, even when they're right by the lavatory. Why? Because they're hidden behind unlabeled access panels for security and aesthetic reasons. Flight attendants are trained to grab them fast. But here's the catch. They're also trained not to open certain overhead bins during fires. Why? Because those bins might contain dangerous electronics or overheating batteries. In case of cabin smoke, don't just wait for someone to do something. Look for where the crew heads. Follow their eyes. They know where the tools are. Now so do you. Ever notice a small red loop near the flight attendant jump seat, or a black hook inside the galley wall? That's a seatbelt cutter, and yes, it's exactly what it sounds like. In an evacuation, time is everything. If a seatbelt jams, which happens more often than you'd think, flight attendants use these razor-sharp hooked tools to slice through them in seconds. They're usually not accessible to passengers, but knowing they exist matters. If you see crew running for them in a crash scenario, they're likely heading to help someone trapped. Bonus: some newer aircraft now include belt cutters near lavatory compartments, just in case a passenger becomes incapacitated while locked inside. Chilling? Maybe. But in an emergency, every second saved counts. Most people use their overhead air vent for comfort, just to cool down or maybe to blast out some stale cabin air. But in a smoke-filled cabin, that little nozzle might actually be your best friend. Here's why. Cabin air is HEPA filtered, recirculated from overhead, and pushed downwards. If smoke enters the cabin from the rear, like say from a lavatory fire, that overhead airstream can help create a clean bubble of breathable air right around your face, but only if it's turned on. Flight safety experts recommend that in any emergency situation involving smoke or even just strange smells, you should immediately open your air vent at full blast and keep it aimed right at your nose and mouth. It may actually buy you some precious seconds while you reach for your oxygen mask or move toward an exit. In older aircraft and even some of the newer models, you'll find something truly old-school: escape ropes. No joke. Some aircraft, especially those with overwing exits, have a coiled nylon rope hidden inside a hatch above the emergency door. When you open that exit, a small metal fitting drops down. That's your cue to pull the rope out and hook it to the wing attachment point. Why does this matter? Because aircraft wings get slippery, fast. Add rain, snow, or even spilled fuel, and well, you've got a real death trap. The escape rope gives you something to grip onto as you crawl across the wing toward safety. No one ever talks about it, but every crew member knows it's there. We've all seen it. The cabin pressure drops, the masks fall, and the safety video says, "Secure your own mask before helping others." But what are you actually breathing in through that yellow cup? Spoiler alert, it's not bottled oxygen. Most commercial jets don't carry massive tanks of oxygen. It would just be too heavy, and honestly, way too dangerous. Instead, they use a chemical reaction. The yellow mask is connected to a device known as an oxygen generator, or sometimes called an oxygen candle. Once you pull on the mask, you ignite a small chemical reaction involving sodium chlorate and iron powder. It produces oxygen right there on the spot, but it also generates some pretty intense heat, as in 400 degrees Celsius. That's why you never see the inside of that panel. It's basically a mini chemistry set with a timer. You usually get 12 to 15 minutes of oxygen from this system. And no, that's not because the plane is about to crash. That's just enough time for the pilot to descend to a breathable altitude, usually below 10,000 feet. So if you ever wonder why that mask smells weird or even feels a little hot, now you know. It's not pure oxygen, it's survival chemistry happening in real time. Neat, right? You probably think the emergency exits are just those doors with red handles, but did you know some exits are designed to work on the wing itself? Planes with overwing exits are built with escape paths across the wing surface, but aircraft engineers didn't stop there. Under the emergency exit windows, you'll often find tiny metal loops almost invisible unless you know what to look for. These are life-saving hooks. Why? Because if the plane makes an emergency water landing, a ditching, the wing becomes dangerously slippery. That's why most aircrafts include a hidden escape rope stored above the window exit. Pull it out, clip it into that hook on the wing, and you've just turned the aircraft exterior into a guided escape path. It's a detail most passengers miss entirely, but one that becomes absolutely critical in an emergency. Flight attendants are trained to deploy these ropes instantly, but you can help by knowing where they are and how they work. Bottom line, next time you're seated near the wing, take 5 seconds to spot the hook and remember it. It's not just for design, it's a built-in lifeline. Here's a brutal truth. Your tray table is not your friend in an emergency. Most people think it's just common courtesy to put the tray table up during takeoff and landing. But it's way more serious than that. Imagine needing to evacuate quickly. If your tray is down, you're blocking your own escape and possibly trapping the person behind you. It also makes it nearly impossible to assume the brace position. And if the crash impact throws your body forward, that tray becomes a chest-level battering ram. The FAA mandates tray tables up during critical flight phases for a reason. Every extra second matters. A blocked aisle or pinned passenger can mean the difference between life and death. So next time the flight attendant reminds you to put your tray away, don't roll your eyes. Treat it like a tactical command, not a suggestion. It's not just etiquette, it's engineering meets psychology meets raw survival. Everyone knows about the life vest under the seat, but did you know it might not be there? Shocking but true. In some cases, passengers have stolen them as souvenirs. Airlines now perform random checks and fine passengers who remove safety equipment. Now here's the good part. Life vests are only one piece of the puzzle. Under some seats, particularly in business class or near bulkhead rows, you may also find extra flotation cushions. And while it's not encouraged, in a true emergency, your seat cushion is designed to be detached and used as a flotation device. Look underneath. There's usually a subtle strap or handle. That's not random, it's for quick release. Also, in newer aircraft, vests come with a light that activates automatically when submerged. It's powered by a tiny water-activated battery designed to work for hours in open water. Point is, everything under your seat has a purpose, and it's not storage. If the cabin is dark, floor lighting will guide you to the nearest exit. We've all heard it. But let's talk about how that actually works, and how powerful it is. The floor lights, or emergency escape path lighting, are part of one of the most foolproof systems on the plane. Unlike overhead signs or emergency lights that require the full electrical system, these floor path lights are often powered by a self-contained photoluminescent system, basically, high-tech glow-in-the-dark strips. In other planes they may be backed up by their own battery systems separate from the aircraft's main power. Here's the twist: in dense smoke you won't be able to see anything above chest height. Visibility drops fast. These floor lights are the only guidance you'll have to crawl towards safety. You've probably noticed that during takeoff and landing, especially at night, the cabin lights get dimmed. No, it's not to set a relaxing mood or save energy. It's actually a safety feature designed to save your life. In case of an emergency landing at night, your eyes need to be adjusted to the outside darkness. Dimming the lights ahead of time allows your pupils to naturally adapt, giving you precious seconds of clearer vision if you suddenly need to evacuate. Think of it like being jolted awake and thrown into a pitch-black room. You'd be blind. Now imagine you're in that same room but your eyes are already adjusted. That difference, it could save your life. And that's not the only reason. Dimming the lights also makes emergency lighting along the aisle more visible. Those tiny floor lights you barely notice during a flight. In the dark, they're a visual path straight to the nearest exit. So next time you think the crew is trying to make the cabin cozy, remember? It's all about prepping your senses in case something goes very wrong. We've all seen it on the safety card. In the event of a water landing. But let's be real, how many people actually believe they'll survive one? The truth is, you can, if you know what features are hiding around you. First, your seat cushion isn't just there for comfort. On most commercial jets, it doubles as a flotation device. You simply pull it off, hug it to your chest, and use the straps to keep it secure. It won't be the Ritz-Carlton, but it'll keep you afloat long enough for rescue. Second, every aircraft has life vests under or between your seats. What most passengers miss is the small light and whistle attached to it. Two crucial tools for signaling rescuers in the chaos of open water. And then, there's the slide rafts. Some emergency exits are equipped with inflatable slides that convert into full-blown life rafts. These come with emergency kits, including signaling mirrors, flares, water rations, and even sea anchors to prevent drifting. You'll likely never need them, but if you do, knowing where they are and how they work gives you a real shot at survival. Ever notice those dim lights along the floor near the aisle? You probably ignore them. Everyone does, until they become your only lifeline. In a smoke-filled cabin, visibility drops to near zero in seconds. Those overhead exit signs? Useless if you can't see them. That's where floor path lighting comes in. It's literally your glowing guide to the exit when everything else is chaos. There are two main types: photoluminescent strips. They glow after being exposed to light like glow-in-the-dark toys, and LED lighting which stays powered. Both are designed to stay visible through heavy smoke. What's more, these paths are positioned low for a reason. In a cabin fire, breathable air stays closer to the floor. So while your instinct may be to stand and move fast, safety experts agree. Stay low, follow the lights, and move fast toward the nearest usable exit. Your survival might depend on whether you notice that glow before takeoff. Look closely at an airplane window and you'll see a tiny hole near the bottom center. It's not a manufacturing defect, it's called a breather or bleed hole, and it's one of the unsung heroes of cabin safety. Airplane windows are actually made of 3 layers. The innermost pane protects you from touching the middle one, which bears the real pressure differential. That tiny hole equalizes the pressure between the cabin and the outer layer, relieving stress on the inner panes and preventing them from cracking. And if the outer window fails, that middle pane still has your back. But here's another fun fact. The hole also helps prevent fogging or frost build up between the panes, ensuring you always have a clear view outside whether you're admiring a sunrise or, scanning for rescue boats. So next time you press your forehead against the glass, remember you're inches away from a triple-layered engineering miracle designed to keep you alive. We all know turbulence happens, and walking down the aisle when it does, it's a chaotic dance of grabbing random seatbacks, bumping heads, and apologizing for stepping on toes. But here's a trick few people know. Above your head, right under the overhead bins, most planes have a hidden groove, built-in handrails. Flight attendants use them constantly to glide through the cabin smoothly. These rails are part of the cabin architecture, blending in so well most passengers never realize they're there. In sudden turbulence, gripping this rail instead of grabbing random arms or seatbacks can help you move more confidently and avoid accidental faceplants or, worse. Next time you walk the aisle, reach up. That rail might just keep you steady and safe.